empyema thoracis today. So the definition is empyema refers to the collection of pus in the pleural cavity. You know that what is pleural cavity? It is the space between visceral and parietal pleura. So whenever there is pus collection in between this visceral and parietal pleura, it is known as empyema, also known as pyothorax, usually caused by bacteria. Most commonly it is caused by bacteria, even though fungal infections can also lead to empyema, and tuberculous empyema is also there, but we are not discussing about tuberculous empyema. So most commonly it is caused by bacteria, and our discussion will be confined to bacteria caused empyema. Coming to etiology, occurs in the context of pneumonia in 70% of cases of empyema. So it is a complication. Empyema develops as a complication of pneumonia. In 70% cases of empyema, there is preceding pneumonia. And other causes are chest trauma and surgery on chest. So anything, complication of pneumonia, complication in chest trauma, complication in surgery. So the ultimately it will lead to empyema. Coming to risk factors, who are more prone to develop empyema? Diabetes mellitus patients, intravenous drug abuse patients, immunosuppressions, those people who are on immunosuppressants for other reasons. For example, if patient is on immunosuppression therapy for some organ transplantation, post-transplantation. So they are at risk of developing empyema. Gastroesophageal reflux disease, alcohol abuse. So these are the risk factors for developing empyema. Coming to microbiology, I told you it is our discussion will confine to bacterial pneumonias. This empyema is a complication of community acquired pneumonia, then gram positive organ. So depending upon the background, if it is a complication of community acquired pneumonia, what is community acquired pneumonia? Can anyone tell what is community acquired pneumonia? Hello, can you hear me? Can anyone respond?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, what is the meaning of community acquired pneumonia? Community acquired pneumonia. So it is pneumonia developing in a person in community. That is, there is no patient was not hospitalized for some other problem. So all of a sudden he develops pneumonia, and that in a community setting. So community acquired pneumonia. So most commonly this community acquired pneumonia is because of gram positive organisms. Most commonly it is streptococcus pneumonia. So same thing happens here. In case of empyema, which is a complication of community acquired pneumonia, you will find gram positive organisms predominantly in the pus aspirated from the pleural cavity. In the presence of comorbidities like diabetes, gastroesophageal reflux disease, alcohol abuse, you can also find gram-negative organisms in addition to gram-positive organisms. So in hospital-acquired pneumonia, a person who was hospitalized for some other reason, but after hospitalization, 2 days after hospitalization, he develops pneumonia. Then you call it as hospital-acquired pneumonia. So in such a situation, the microorganisms will be different. Staphylococcus aureus, Pseudomonas aeruginosa are more common. So this is very important in case of whenever you are managing empyema patient. So this helps whether it is community acquired pneumonia setting, or is it in the presence of comorbidities, or is it secondary to, is it a complication of hospital acquired pneumonia. This information is important whenever you are managing a patient of empyema, because that will help you in guiding antibiotic, which antibiotic you have to select while treating the patient. So as a complication of community acquired pneumonia, gram positive organisms will be most likely the causative. In the presence of comorbidity, it is gram negative organisms. In hospital acquired pneumonia, it is Staphylococcus aureus, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. And trauma and surgery, I told you 70% of cases it is secondary to pneumonia, but in other 30% it is trauma and surgery. So whenever there is trauma to chest, whenever there is surgery on chest, so these patients may develop empyema, and in these patients Staphylococcus aureus is the most commonly isolated organism from the pus. Anaerobic organisms along with aerobic organisms is also common. Remember this empyema is a good culture medium for anaerobic organisms, but it becomes difficult to culture these anaerobic organisms in routine culture media because they are anaerobes. So there are various studies where they have identified these anaerobic organisms other than culture methods, that in 70% of empyema patients there were anaerobic organisms also present. So anaerobic organism coverage is also important whenever you are treating a patient of empyema. Fungal infection, most commonly Candida species, but very rarely seen. Okay, particularly in patients who are who are having diabetes, who are on immunosuppression therapy. So this is very important. This background information is very important in case of whenever you are managing a patient of empyema. Coming to pathophysiology, what exactly happens in empyema? How does pus enter the pleural cavity? First, there will be pneumonia, that is infection of the lung parenchyma. This alveoli will be nearer to, there is just small connective tissue separating the alveoli and the visceral pleura. So the visceral pleura is also in the vicinity of infection. Whenever there is pneumonia, that is infection in the alveoli, there will be pleural inflammation also because of the vicinity. So pleural inflammation will be there, which leads to increased capillary permeability. Whenever there is capillary permeability increase, there will be fluid accumulation in the pleural cavity, which is known as parapneumonic effusion. Okay, parapneumonic effusion is pleural effusion secondary to pneumonia. Parapneumonic effusion, which is an exudative fluid rich in protein. So this is also important. This is an exudative fluid rich in protein. This protein is important because this leads to development of septations in the pleural effusion. I told you in my previous class about pleural effusion. Whenever there are loculations, okay, whenever there are septation, that is because of the protein-rich fluid in the pleural cavity. So this parapneumonic effusion is rich in protein, and there will be next step is colonization of organisms, and that further establishes the infection in pleural cavity. This is empyema. So ultimately, it leads to empyema in the pleural cavity. There are three stages of empyema. One is exudative stage, second is fibrinopurulent stage, third is organizing stage. In exudative stage, this is simple parapneumonic effusion. In fibrinopurulent stage, there will be septa formation because of the high protein content. Organizing stage, it is fibrosis will be developing. So exudative stage is accumulation of fluid with or without pus. There may not be pus. It is exudative stage. So pleural fluid accumulation, which is rich in protein. Then fibrinopurulent stage, fibrous septa form localized pus pockets. Okay, there will be septa formation, which leads to pus pockets in localized pus pocket formation. Next is organizing stage, which is scarring of the pleural membranes with a rind formation causing reduced lung expansion. So this once it is organized, it becomes difficult to remove the fluid through routine conventional tube thoracostomy or intercostal tube drainage. So this we have to avoid development of organizing stage by early intervention. Okay. Coming to clinical features, the clinical features are similar to that of pneumonia. Patient will have cough with or without sputum. Okay, so sputum may or may not be there in some cases. Then chest pain, which is of pleuritic nature, shortness of breath, fever. So these will be there. The difference between pneumonia and this empyema is it is an indolent course. Like it over 2 weeks time it will be developing. Whereas in pure pneumonia, it is within a span of 1 week patient will have toxic features. So whereas in case of empyema, it slowly develops. When to suspect empyema? So it develops mostly as a complication of pneumonia. So with a background of pneumonia, a patient who is hospitalized for pneumonia, and you are treating him with antibiotics, you will be suspecting this empyema when a patient with pneumonia not responding adequately with antibiotics, especially in the presence of effusion. The patient is not getting relief from fever. The patient still having fever. The total white cell count is high still. So you don't understand what is the reason. So possibility is empyema. Empyema may be there, which needs drainage. So this empyema should be suspected in a patient with pneumonia who is not responding adequately with antibiotics, especially in the presence of pleural effusion. Next, in a person with chest trauma and surgery, patient developing high-grade fever, then you have to consider one of the possibilities as empyema. Coming to diagnosis of empyema. Chest radiograph is initial investigation of choice. So for any case, for pleural effusion, for pneumothorax, or for empyema, initial investigation of choice is chest radiograph. But this chest radiograph cannot give you information whether it is empyema or simple pleural effusion. So it cannot differentiate between simple pleural effusion from empyema. So in order to differentiate this pleural effusion from empyema, ultrasonography is the most helpful diagnostic tool. So ultrasonography can help in differentiating between these two conditions, that is simple pleural effusion from empyema, and it also helps in localizing the site for thoracentesis and identify the presence of septation. Okay, I told you in my previous class about pleural effusion that helps in identifying the where to put needle for thoracentesis and to know whether internal septations are there. If internal septations are there, where total removal of fluid may not be possible, in such a case, you may need surgical intervention. So this is important. Diagnosis, ultrasonography helps in localizing the site and in differentiating the pleural effusion from empyema and in identifying the presence of septations. And the other helpful features with ultrasonography is it's a bedside procedure. There is no radiation exposure. Okay, especially helpful in patients who are in ICU. Okay, in intensive care patients who are on ventilators or who are on or bedridden who cannot sit. In such a situation, ultrasonography is the most helpful diagnostic tool. CT scan is used as a last resort in case of difficult situations. This is a chest radiograph. On left side, there is normal radiograph. You can see clear costophrenic angles on both sides. Okay, there is acute costophrenic angulation on both sides, which is normal. Whereas on right side, you can see right side pleural effusion. There is a, how do you describe the pleural effusion? Radiological description of pleural effusion. Can anyone answer? Radiological description of pleural effusion. So there is homogeneous density. There is homogeneous density occupying right lower zone with blunting of right costophrenic angles. You can see right costophrenic angle you are unable to see on right side. Whereas in the normal X-ray, on both sides you can see acute costophrenic angles clearly. But on right side, because of pleural effusion, there is blunting of costophrenic angle. But this will not give you whether it is simple pleural effusion or whether it is empyema. So for this differentiation, you need ultrasonography. Next, confirmation. Confirmation is by the demonstration of pus by aspiration, positive Gram stain, positive culture on pleural fluid. So what you do? First, X-ray shows that there is right pleural effusion. For example, if you take the same X-ray, there is right pleural effusion. Next, you want to know whether it is simple pleural effusion or it is empyema. Then next step is you can take help of ultrasonography. So ultrasonography is showing us some septations are there. So possibility of empyema is there. So then how to confirm it? So this confirmation is by demonstration of pus. You will be putting needle and removing the fluid from the pleural cavity, just like thoracentesis, just like aspiration of any pleural fluid. So if you see pus on aspiration, then it is confirming that it is empyema. Next is, even if it is not pus, if you are sending the drained fluid for Gram stain, if any positive Gram stain is there, if organisms are seen on Gram stain, that also confirms empyema. If culture is yielding some organisms, that also confirms empyema. So these are the three methods by which you can confirm whether it is empyema or not. Coming to management part. So pleural fluid drainage. Once you confirm that it is empyema, that is there is pus inside the pleural cavity. So intercostal tube drainage is the mainstay of treatment. You cannot aspirate the fluid. See, in simple pleural effusion, you can remove the fluid and wait. But in case of empyema, that is pus, you have to drain the fluid. You have to remove the fluid totally. Intercostal tube drainage. By intercostal tube drainage, which is the mainstay of treatment with a background of antibiotics. This is also important. Just as intercostal tube drainage is removing the fluid which is a source of infection. Okay, it is containing organism. That infection is there. That infection is removing physically or removing physically the infection, but it is not going to remove the infection totally. Then you have to give antibiotics. So which antibiotics to be given? I told you based on the background. If it is community acquired pneumonia and if it is a complication of community acquired pneumonia, Gram positive coverage is sufficient. Okay, beta-lactam antibiotics, beta-lactam initially. Ultimately, you will be taking help of culture reports. Okay, whatever the fluid you have aspirated, you will be sending it for culture sensitivity, but it takes at least 2 days time to get the report. So till then, you will be starting them on broad spectrum antibiotics, including anaerobic coverage, either with metronidazole or clindamycin, right? So, and anaerobic coverage is essential in all cases of empyema because it is difficult to isolate anaerobic organisms on routine cultures. So by default, you consider it as anaerobic organisms are also there, and you put the patient on anaerobic coverage by either metronidazole, clindamycin, Okay, along with other antibiotics. Based on antibiotic sensitivity report, you can modify the antibiotics. Next is intrapleural fibrinolytic instillation. So this is not routinely practiced, but in case of difficulties, you put the patient on intercostal tube drainage. In spite of that, patient is not improving, and still there is some fluid which could be visualized either on ultrasonography or CT scan, which is not coming freely. In such a situation, you can give an attempt by installation of intrapleural fibrinolytics, which help in dissolving the fibrin septa. Okay, fibrin septa will be dissolved by this urokinase or streptokinase. Then all the dissolved material will be liquefied and come back. It will come out through the tube. Even after intrapleural fibrinolytic installation, if patient is not improving, and if there is any rind formation which is not allowing the lung to expand, I told you in the last stage, that is, there is fibrous rind forming along the visceral pleural layer, which will not allow the lung to expand. So even after putting the patient on intercostal tube drainage, there is no total lung expansion, and you will be taking CT scan of the patient, which is showing some visceral pleural thickening, which is not relieved. In such a situation, you can do thoracoscopic surgery, and you can go for decortication, removing all the rind, which is you can peel off the you can peel off the septa which is around the visceral pleura, so that the lung will expand, and after that you will continue with the intercostal tube drainage for some days till there is fluid less than 100 ml fluid per day for 3 days. So here you can see chest tube. Okay, here you can see chest tube. So this chest tube is with trocar. Okay, this is the tube which will be inserted, helping. So there is a metallic rod inside which is known as trocar. Okay, this trocar will help you in guiding the chest tube. Okay, then you will be removing, after putting the chest tube into the space, intercostal space, you will be removing the trocar and you will be connecting it to underwater seal. So this is the diagram showing tube thoracostomy. So there is chest tube, usually 4th or 5th intercostal space. We put in the 4th or 5th intercostal tube, 4th or 5th intercostal space in anterior or mid-axillary line. But in case of loculated empyema, suppose the empyema is localized only one part of chest, then in such a situation, that will be seen on ultrasonography. The ultrasonography is ultimately, it will help where to put the chest tube also. Thank you. Any doubts or any questions, you can ask me. Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, so I'm concluding. I'm closing the session. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.